I will go to work with the archivist. We actually work over Google spreadsheets, and she puts in some fields and I put in some fields. At the end of our work, we produce a finding aids for the whole collection. And then it is my job to submit a digitization proposal. And I will be the project lead for that project. And usually there's a time in between finding aids is finished and the digital collection will be released, at least 6 months or sometimes as long as a couple of years. So when is the time to be ready to be scanned and to be released as a digital collection, I then work with a metadata librarian and to revisit the metadata to see if we need to do any updates and adding new fields to prepare for the digital collection. So just to give you the idea of the process here. Okay, so here is a metadata schema at Duke. So this is, of course, not the complete one. The complete one could be a couple pages long. Just to give you an idea, so we use Dublin Core here as a base of our metadata. And my major involvement is in the descriptive part, as you can see here. As you can probably figure it here, is title, creator, or photographer. In this case, the date, the location, and the description. And the archivist is more involved in the technical metadata. And of course, we work with each other on all the fields, as I explained. So we actually work on the Google spreadsheets. All right, so now let's look at some examples to give you an idea of what does it mean when I explain all these steps. So this first example is the so-called William Shockley photographs. The photographer is William Shockley, who was actually a mining engineer. So he traveled all over the world to survey the mines, silver mine, gold mines, all sorts of mines. And so as part of his work, he did need to take some photographs to document the places, the workflows that he saw at the places. But he himself is also a very skillful amateur photographer. So he took very good photos. And he's also very interested in the people and culture that he visited. So the whole collection has about 2,200 photographs. The China part is about 1,500. So if you look at the finding aids, so this is a screenshots of the finding aids that we finally created. So you can see that the first series is by country. So he traveled all over the world. So within China, the sub-series is China Beijing and China Hebei, China Henan, etc. So we organize a whole collection by location. So that's the biggest structure. And then the collection is mainly of loose photographs, meaning that we have each individual photos. Usually there are gelatin silver prints, and the size is about 3 by 4 inches. So we look at it and we agree that these photographs is of very good quality and very interesting subject matters, and has a great potential because of the year to be digitized very quickly. So we decided to go level 4, that is the item level description of each individual photos. And we did that. And here you see is the finding aids that we finally published. And if you click the arrow, you're actually going to see each individual photos with the detailed metadata for all the photos within the sub-series of Beijing. As you can see, there are 179 photos in that sub-series. Okay, now give you a 1 or 2 examples right here. And so as you can see here, I included the photos, this photo. This is the top one is the back. The bottom is the front, as you can see. And on the back, Shockley himself wrote captions. He wrote Garden Bridge, Shanghai, 1897. That's his own handwriting. That's his own caption to the photo. The above RL0, that number was my handwriting, which is the Rubinstein Library RL identifier, as you can see on the left. So we transfer those his captions to our metadata field in the title, Garden Bridge, and my translation. As you can see, what I put in additional information for the translation of a Garden Bridge is Wai Baidu Qiao, as the more commonly known name of this bridge, and the location is straightforward. The series is China, as I explained. Sub-series is Shanghai. Format is gelatin silver print, as I explained, and size and everything. So this is a straightforward example. Let's look at another one. From the same collection, still by Shockley. And we have a guy, an old guy in kind of a uniform standing in front of a door. And on the back, there's nothing. And then we look at the other photos in this collection. And we actually see another photo with this person's name on the back. So we know his name. And his name, William Morgan, etc. So we wrote the information in the metadata, but this time we cannot call it title, we call it description, because this is what we found out. It's not what the photographer gave to the photographs, and the translation, of course. The dates is also interesting. The earlier photograph has the dates written on it, so we're pretty sure. But this one, we're not sure. But from the years that Shockley was in China, the earliest is 1896, the latest 1899. So we have two dates. So we have a date range. And we suspect the most likely date is 1897. This person actually is the boss of Mr. Shockley. He hired him to come to China to do mining surveys. So he's the boss. They came together on their trip in 1897 around the Chinese New Year time. So we think from all the other text materials that we read and we have in the collection, we figure out that's probably the case. So we have the date expressions roughly or more likely is 1897. Okay, so you also see something different here is a public note. I explained that this person, Mr. Morgan, is his boss. He is a person who has a company in the UK and become a global company, actually, hired Shockley to come to China to do surveys in order to negotiate with the Qing government some kind of deal to do mining activities in Qing China. So we think that it's important for users later on when they come to use this collection, whether in this, this format or in the digital format, to know something about this important person. So we put in something called public note. And this one, we don't actually have a Chinese translation. Sometimes we have Chinese public notes in Chinese, but no English translation. So I have to say we are not consistent in our practice. Maybe when the time this collection will be digitized, we can be more consistent. Okay, so these are the two examples from the Shockley photo. These are loose photos. Each individual photos are by itself. Now, a second example is this Frederick Pease photographs. This is a very small collection. This is in one photo album, as you can see. It's just one photo album. So if you click open, so you actually see each individual. So the organization of this collection is straightforward. It's just by the order, and these photographs appear on the album. And we look at the album, they're very interesting. The photographer is a German officer with the German Navy, came during the Boxer Rebellion, and he visited all these port port cities in China, including Qingdao, Qufu, Tianjin, Hong Kong, Beijing, etc. So quite interesting and very different from all the other photos we have already in our collection, and also the historical incidents is interesting as well. It's during the Boxer Rebellion. And also, again, because of the time, it's very good candidate for digitization. And as you can see, actually here, we already digitized these photo album. I mentioned it's a photo album. So here is one example of one page from that album. And as you can see, these are 4 photos from Hong Kong. And the photographer has handwritten captions beneath each photograph. And I'm going to use this photograph, this in the corner, as an example to show the detailed metadata that we had for this one. So as you can see, there we go. And you don't see the metadata right there. You only see this, the handwritten captions anymore. You only see this image, but then we transfer that into the metadata you see on the left hand. Everything is straightforward, as you can see, nothing strange. One thing different is we do have subject analysis here. We do have a subject, it's China history, Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901. Again, Duke has not been very consistent of assigning subject terms, something that we can improve ourselves. Another thing you can see that's different from a metadata for just the finding aids needs. So this one, as I explained, has already been digitized. So we have a permanent link. So this link is linked to this photograph in the digital collection. And last but not least is a rights statement, the copyright statement. For the finding aids, you have one statement at the end of the finding aids. For digital collections, we have a rights statement for each individual photos, because when users, patrons are looking for images, they probably just need one image. We want to make sure they understand how the copyright works for this particular collection and how they can apply for permission if needed. So this is from the piece photograph example. The last one is from the Sydney Gamble photograph. This is still the largest and most complicated collection I have worked on. Excuse me. So the 2 earlier examples is we actually have the physical collections in my hand when I work with the archivist. But this one is different. The bulk of the collection are negatives, meaning that I cannot actually hold these things in my hand. They are nitrate negatives, very unstable kind of material, and burns in water even. And also glass lantern slides, which is also vulnerable. And we try to keep them in good condition and do not touch them much. So this collection is different. We actually went ahead and digitized everything first. Then we work on the metadata. As you can see, this one is sort of by the format of the materials we have in this collection. So the organization goes by format first. Then in each format or in each category, they're much more detailed. This is huge collection. So it really takes a long time for every single item to be to have its own metadata and to be digitized. To give you just one example. So this one you see is a hand-colored lantern slide. And it has a sleeve cover, and on the cover, we have Gamble's own caption, which is Zagu Naochang Village. And you actually have, I gave it a Chinese translation. The date is pretty certain. What's unique about here is the location information, as you can see here. And especially the 2 names, so one is Li Xian, one is Li Fan. when Gamble visited the place, this place was called Lifan. That was its old name. So I kept its old name, because I think in particular, this is a useful information for scholars who might need the name to search, or when they search, they are reading some kind of materials, and that's the name they come across, and they need to find places. But then the modern name of that place is Lixian, so we also apply for the modern name. So the location information for Gamble collection is one areas of complexity that I have to say. The other thing unique about here, as you can see, there's the copyright statements are bilingual, English and Chinese. So you probably are aware of the copyright issues or violations that happened to this collection a little while ago. 2019, that was seems a long time ago. So just making sure it's clear to all audience, I translated the right statement into Chinese, so make it clear when people accessing this collection. Okay, and some very quick reflections. And first of all, as you hear me talking, so this is teamwork. So I first work with the archivist to create, working on the spreadsheet to create the metadata, and we create the finding aids together. So that's the first step. And then I work with the metadata librarian when it's getting ready to the publication of the digital collection, to update fields, to make up fields. For example, I mentioned maybe we're not consistent in the way when we are doing our finding aids, then we want to be consistent in our metadata in the digital collection, where we add certain fields that we didn't do for the finding aids part. And so this has been my experience for the past more than 10 years. So the practice in Duke changed from time to time, and we are constantly seeking to improve ourselves. But what we trying to do here at Duke is we hope to give users the most useful information, to give them a good experience when using and researching the photograph collections at Duke, and also good data, good metadata allows collaboration on many different levels, whether several photograph collections going to be together into one bigger one later, or whether it's just some other kind of, for the linked data, for all sorts of collaboration. That could be a totally different talk. But anyway, as you can see, it's still evolving and still developing practice. And I looking forward to hear your feedbacks and questions and comments, etc. So feel free to either ask me today or feel free to send me email. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Laura. There's several questions for you already. So maybe we keep the question to the end. Yeah, because we want to let Susan and Julie to finish the presentation, but now give you an opportunity, Laura. You can look the question in the chat box. So
I will.
ready. Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
So Susan, please take away.
All right. And now I'm going to share my screen. Thanks, Xuying and Charlene. And I'm very happy to see so many colleagues after, we isolating in home for a year now. This is an opportunity for me to update this CEAL Callis DRAA collaborative translation project. This project full name of the project is pretty long. This is the China-US Translation and Research Collaboration Project on Electronic Resource Standards and the Recommended Practice in the United States. This project was initiated in March 2016. It was a collaborative project between 3 parties. That's the CEAL Task Force on Metadata Standards and the Best Practice for East Asian Electronic Resources, the ERM, China Academic and the Library Information System, and the Digital Resource Acquisition Alliance of Chinese Academic Libraries. There are more than 30 librarians from US and China institutions participate in this project. And this project received really strong support from CEAL colleagues and the DRAA leaders. During the 4 years' time, these leaders facilitated the proof and development of the project. For the Chinese partner, the Chinese side, the project coordinators, there's Xiaolong, who is currently the director of Shanxi University Library, and Yao Xiaoxia, who is currently deputy director of Peking University Library. From US side, the project coordinator, Ma Bihua from California Digital Library. In fact, Bihua initiates this important project. Deng Shi is from University of California, San Diego Library, and myself from University of California, Berkeley Library. So what's the goal of the project? So the firstly was to introduce selected standards, recommended practices for digital publishing and the digital resources that have been issued by US National Information Standard Organization, which is NISO, into China, by translating them into Chinese so as to ultimately improve the awareness of the standards among Chinese digital publishers and the libraries. Also, the project team conducted research on how the standards have been developed, implemented, and updated. And the study including also comparative studies of standards for digital publishing and digital resources in China and the US. So next is slides show that what standards or recommended practice the task force selected. Select 13 these relevant standards and best practices. To save the time, I'm not going to read the full list, but just as a look at the titles, we're able to tell that they're either closely related to the digital publishing industry or closely related to acquiring and processing or cataloging digital resources. So after this 4 years hard working, this the project team member put a lot of time and energy to conduct research and did the translation. So the team made some major achievements. The first one is based on the project, the ERM and the colleagues organized 2 conference forums. One was held in March 2018 at the CEAL conference in Washington, DC, and another one was held in August 2018 at a Beijing International Book Fair. This one was co-sponsored by CMPIEC. The project team member completed the translation of the 13 standards and the recommended practices in August 2020, the last year. They all been published at DRAA websites. So I'm going to share the websites later on in chat box, and also going to show very briefly how the page looks like. And the project team member also completed 13 research articles. 8 of them were first published in the Library Information Service. in 2018. So the last but not least, the searching Chinese translations and the research articles will be published in printing format as well. The book titled Data and the Digital Resources Standards and the Recommended Practices. The Chinese title is 数据与数字资源的标准规范. It will be published and is scheduled to release by the National Library of China Publishing House later this year. So I'm going to stop sharing this PPT and switch to the websites. So this is the website for publishing the Chinese translation of the sorting standards and the recommended practices here. This is a download button. As you can see, the first one already been downloaded 2,375 times. In fact, this one is finished last. I think we completed this one only last year. This next one, Susie, even got a higher number, over 3,700 sometimes. So this is all the results of these 30 colleagues. They're hardworking, and some of these colleagues actually in the audience. You'll be happy to see your name here, and you see how many times your work being downloaded. So with this, I will just conclude my report, and I'm going to share the websites chat afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. It's wonderful to see the website with so many downloads being done. It's like kind of very objective data. Thank you, Susan. So Julie, you'll be next. Julie, do you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to
Share screen.
share my okay.
And so while Julie is sharing her screen, so I want to add a little bit more information about her since she's not our CEAL member. So as I mentioned, she is the manager of, she has been working in the publishing industry for 20 years, and as EEE senior manager of Discovery's partners, she cultivates and manages working relationships with Discovery services, link resolver, proxy services, and search engine providers, as well as librarians and consortium. She serves on NISO's Information Discovery and Exchange Topics Committee and many other committees related to metadata standards. And she has published and presented on topics such as complying with publishing standards, reducing content gaps in discovery services, publisher vendor library collaborations, and metadata enhancement projects. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this conference. And I actually presented about ODI and KBART at the CEAL 2018 in Washington, DC, and I got a chance to meet some of you. I think Bianhua came to me after the meeting and suggesting that KBART should include considerations for non-English content, especially CJK content. So the KBART 3 working group is now including the following work item: improved support for global content, including those with non-Latin characters. They may add new columns in the KBART title lists for a translated title, transliterary title, language of content. For names of authors, editors, they may allow 4 names for CJK because tens of tens of millions of people share the last names of Wang, Li, Kim, Park. So today my focus is on ODI. I will give a brief overview of the Open Discovery Initiative, what the ODI goals are, what's in the most recently revised recommended practice, and how librarians, content providers, and discovery service providers need to learn and do. So the Open Discovery Initiative was first proposed in 2011, 10 years ago, at the summer conference of the American Library Association. CEAL Solutions at the time had just announced the Summon product. Competitor products were coming up from EBSCO and OCLC, like the EBSCO Discovery Service, the Primo, and WCAG Discovery. The Discovery Index was the first massive international effort to pull content from publishers of journals, ebooks, and many other sources. The indexing provided by ANI services and library catalogs just into one integrated index. They tried to solve the problem, just I want to find everything all at once. This noble goal opened up a lot of questions and concerns among librarians and others. So what's in the indexes? How is it indexed? What data appears? What if I license a content package? Am I going to find it in any discovery index? So ODI was formed to try to pull together representatives from libraries, content providers, and discovery service providers to hash out some basic foundational information about what's in the discovery index, what gets passed in, what gets sent out to end user, and what's being used in indexing. This group met over several years and released its first version of the recommended practice in 2014. And NASO created an ODI standing committee to oversee, observe, and develop a new version of the recommended practice that might address emerging concerns. The committee started working on KBAR 2 recommendations in 2017 and went through a 3-year process. A new version just came out in the summer of 2020. So in 2017, I published a paper, Should Publishers Invest in Library Discovery Technologies and What Can They Do? I presented a flow chart to show how data flows through multiple pipelines, from publishers to discovery service and link resolver vendors, to libraries, to researchers and readers, to Crossref, identity providers, to authentication tools, and finally to be delivered to the hosting platforms. You can see many steps are involved, and there are potential problems every step of the way. So how do these problems in discovery service related tools impact end user experience? In 2015, I published a paper titled Collaborating to Reduce Content Gaps in Discovery. I searched for IEEE content with 4 text links in 24 libraries all over the world that subscribe to our content, but use different discovery tools. We found that over half of the libraries were missing over half of the subscribed content in their discovery tools. So what does the ODI try to accomplish? It aims to define ways that libraries can assess what is indexed in discovery services and how content is used. What do users actually see, and how do their relevance rankings of the search algorithm work? We aim to streamline and standardize the process for content providers to send their metadata or full text content to discovery service providers. Librarians are concerned with defining models for fair linking from discovery service back to publishers' content. And we also try to set some guidelines on usage statistics that discovery service providers should give to content providers and libraries so that they can understand what content is being used, who is using it, and how often. So this is a 2021 roster of the ODI Standing Committee. We have representatives from the library world, from content providers, publishers, and the 3 big heavy hitters in the discovery provider space. So all 3 parties are equally valued in the ODI process. We all need input, we all need to be heard. And each of these 3 legs of the stool is important to keep the whole thing moving forward. So what are the key updates in the 2020 version? The first 2014 version of ODI best practice touched upon fair linking statistics and open access, but did not provide details. The 2020 version has more specifications on these items. It suggests that content and discovery service providers should support open URL linking and open access indicators. And discovery service providers should provide more detailed counter-compliant reports on discovery usage to both libraries and content providers. And okay, I think there's like one thing missing. The other thing is that the 2020 version also introduced several new items. The content providers can ask discovery providers not to merge records and instead credit each content provider for the record source. Discovery service providers need to explain the general rules of ranking. And the most significant addition is the best practice for libraries, which I will explain a little later. So let's first talk about the content provider role. Content providers need to provide high quality core metadata for indexing. The full range of the metadata will improve the discovery service experience for users. They need to provide fair linking and open access indication, which also will be helpful to the end users. For material to be discoverable in the enormous universe of discovery system, at a minimum, the content provider needs to include the following items when applicable. And I'm just going to go through a brief list here. Metadata elements such as title, author identifier, publisher name, volume, issue, page, dates, item identifier, component of title identifier, item URL, open access designators, for text flag, content type, content format, language, indexing data, abstract. And the recommended practice includes examples of these fields as such as illustrated here. As we all know, open URL linkings do not work all the time. Out of frustration, some publishers work with discovery service providers to construct direct links to the publisher's content. So it is understandable, but both parties should continue to provide and support open URL linking so that libraries can have the option to choose which platform they direct their users to when there are multiple options. Publishers should provide sufficient metadata for constructing open URL links. If an item is open access, it should have the free to read element included in the metadata. That is also very important to end user, who can then identify quickly if something is open access or not. And the content provider needs to include this line of code in its article record. So discovery service has, of course, a very important role. They should make transparent what metadata elements they use and display in the discovery service. And metadata should be made available on both the collection and the title level, with the collection metadata downloadable. Open access indication needs to be displayed. So I'm going to say a little bit more about the transparency. So first of all, librarians and the end users need to understand what is available through the discovery system central index. So at the collection level, elements So we want the discovery service providers to provide some reports to the libraries and to the publishers about the coverage. And so at the collection level, we hope that they will provide about the name of the provider of the product, the market product or database name, the title in the knowledge base, the number of titles in the knowledge for that collection in the knowledge base, the number of unique records in the central index, percentage of full text searchable records, percent of abstract records searchable records, percent of subject searchable records, the percent of articles that are free to read, date of the last update, date of report update. Of course, this is a wishful list, a list of like best wishes, and we don't know how soon that the discovery service providers will be able to provide these. And also we hope that the users will have the ability to drill down to the title level so that they can do more information about what they are searching for. So librarians are concerned about fair linking. So sometimes there are business relationships between the content providers and the discovery service providers. And these relationships should have no impact on the results, the relevance, or link order. For instance, there should be a statement of neutrality in the algorithms. And also libraries should be able to configure which links to present and in what order. So Content has developed a report for discovery statistics. They allow the content providers to see if customers are using their content, clicking on links, and importantly, whether the only licensed customers are getting access to their content. So we want the discovery service providers to supply these reports, and so that the libraries and the publishers can see if the content is being found within the discovery system, if the metadata is effective, and if the licensed indexing and abstracting metadata is used by the authorized institutions. And discovery services will get the OA indicators from publishers, and then they need to find means to display them. Okay.
在桌子上。哦，那个他的 date 是写 March 8th， 所以他倒已经老早就已经给你 fill。你知道现在今天已经16号。
Julie Su, could you unmute yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So the updated recommended practice highlights a new section on the librarian role. I'm proud to say that I proposed this idea to the ODI Standing Committee and led the subgroup on this item. In the past few years, I visited dozens of libraries in several countries, talked with many librarians, subject librarians, electronic resource librarians, system librarians, and audited the subscribed content in hundreds of libraries and discovery systems. I found significant problems in configuration, updating, training, and communication. So the first 2014 ODI best practice talked only about what discovery service and publishers should do. I believe that libraries should play a more active role in making the discovery systems more successful. So the primary library's responsibility is to make sure that the discovery related systems are configured correctly for the subscribed content. The library needs to provide training not only for end users, but also for all types of library staff. The library needs to develop a sort of a conformance to best practice regarding discovery services. So for configuration, it's an essential responsibility for librarians to do the configuration correctly. To do this, one truly needs to understand how the system is supposed to work. When ODI surveyed librarians using discovery systems, they found that significant configuration work was required during the phase of implementation. In many libraries, the implementation of the discovery systems fell primarily to one staff member. It's understandable if the library has a very small staff, but if possible, assign staff to oversee the specific areas of configuration and make them more expert in the specific areas. And to try to document all configuration, that is important. And many libraries reported that they lost documentation when people left and didn't leave any record. So librarians need to confirm that the subscribed content is enabled in multiple systems, not only discovery service tools, but also link resolvers, proxy servers. So need to double check and review periodically to make sure it's available. And when multiple libraries or librarians or library teams work on configuring discovery service, link resolver, and authentication tools separately, they need to meet and communicate on a regular basis to sync up their work. So a lot of the libraries do training and workshops for their patron base, but it's important that the different library staff members also have their needs met concerning the configuration and the use of the discovery systems. For instance, front-end librarians may need some training on the intricacies of the advanced search or the various types of search in the discovery tools. Technical service staff may need some training on how subscription packages work and how end users actually use the systems. The content and features in discovery systems often have updates and upgrades on a monthly or quarterly basis. Libraries should review these regularly. Even if vendors perform the updates and upgrades, libraries need to stay on top to ensure the best performance of the systems for the end user. The new recommended practice has a voluntary conformance statement for libraries as well. And as we urge libraries to complete and publish the library conformance statements and follow up with the content providers and discovery systems about their conformance. So on NICE ODI's website, we have information for content and discovery service providers, including FAQ, checklist, templates, some ODI conformance statements published by several providers. We also have information page for libraries, how libraries can talk with providers about ODI conformance, and there are some configuration guides from different publishers and discovery service providers, and a checklist on what libraries need to do to become ODI conformed. And here are some of the ways to stay connected with and informed of the ODI activities. I want to end my presentation with a chart in an article I published in Scholarly Kitchen in 2019. And we, the content providers, discovery service providers, and libraries are all data plumbers. We continuously build data pipes and fix data leaks to ensure a better end user experience. So happy plumbing. So I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, and we're eager to talk with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. This is a wonderful way to end our program. However, I know we're already 5 minutes or 6 minutes over, but whoever willing to stay, we still can chat with the 3 great presenters. But first, can we say thank you to all the presenters? Okay, so if you're willing to stay, we will still have maybe 5 or 10 minutes, just chat with our presenters. We do see a lot of discussion going on in the chat box. So this is a very interactive, lively meeting. So first, Xiaoying, do you want to read some questions?
Yeah, sure. So in the chat, there's a question for Luo Zhou. The question is, are you using LCSH, which is Library Congress subject heading for topics? What about the location? And any controlled vocabularies you are using or are planning to use in the future?
Yes, we do use the Library of Congress subject headings for location names when there is a subject heading for that location. We do come across some very small places. There's no Library of Congress subject headings available. In that case, we cannot do it. And for the subject matter, we are not consistent. We sometimes assign subject analysis, sometimes don't. I think we can improve on that practice, but thank you, we do. And authority control is the same thing. We do personal name, we do locations, so we do that kind of authority control. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I think there's another question for Susan, and Susan maybe already briefly answered it. Do you want to give more information? The question is, among the standards introduced, which one is related to cataloging? Yeah, and then is there any improvement with this translation efforts on publisher side?
I think it's already providing information about which standards for cataloging. For another question about it, whether those standards best practice will be, help the digital publisher improve their work. As I just said, it's really difficult to tell because there's no study following that. Say, do a survey, see how these standards been taken by the Chinese publishers. But some of the major vendor and publisher would deal with, they actually fully aware those standards and the best practices. When the library, we purchase the e-resources, we require some of these elements they have to provide to us. They actually follow those standards. That's, I can tell, that's the signs that people are taking into this information, because they're available now.
Okay.
Luo, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
Could you share what platform you're using for publish your 3 collection?
Every single digital photograph collection is on the same platform as the repository of Duke's digital collections in general. So it's the same platform, basically. Do you need a link, or do you have a...
What's the name of it? Do you have a name, or just, this is developed by Duke yourself, or you kind of purchase from a commercial vendor?
Oh, I no longer. We the past so I've been at Duke how long? For 12, 13 years. Our platform changed like 3 to 4 times already. The latest one is the open source one. I can give you more technical details in my email to you,
Sure.
Susan. But earlier is a local crafted platform that handled a lot of older collections. But we finished migration to this new platform last year, I believe, during the pandemic, actually. Yeah, it's an open source platform.
So I'm also question for Roy is that you work closely with archive department. Is that means they're using archive space in the back end?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. I actually, as you can see, is I just jumped into this because they don't have any expertise in Rubinstein Library, either as the curator or as the archivist level. There's nobody either with the subject matter or has a language specialist, specialty. So I have to be involved. Otherwise, the things are gonna just be sitting there. And also because I bring in these collections, I have kind of obligation to make them, finish the processing and make them available. So that's why I'm involved. Yeah. Of course, I hope they hire someone. Then I don't have to do all the works myself. It is time consuming, guys, if you want to do it. It is very time consuming. Shockley collection alone spent me almost 1 year to finish. And the Gamble collection took me complete finish and then a series two series updates. Total time is 3 years. So just give you a sense.
Yeah, I think we don't have any more questions in the chat. There's a lot of thank you, appreciation, and also one suggestion that ERM may want to do another survey, follow the first survey, which was done in 2015.
Yeah, again, thanks to all the presenters, and they're also willing to answer all those questions. I really like the way every speaker emphasized how important we use standard. I'm using some sort of metadata quality, really try to improve the user experience, and to follow NISO standard is the international standards, so make data to shareable. Again, for open access resources for ODI, all of this, we all move to the same direction, and same thing for ERMB. We really focus is the standardized metadata, and then make our resources, digitized collection of e-resource more shareable. So thank you all. At the end, could you turn on your video? As Susan said, we haven't seen each other for more than 1 year, and because of lockdown. So at the end, please turn on your video. Let's see each other and just say, hey.
I think so. That is a good idea.
Yes.
So we can see our face.
Yeah. Hi, Pihua. Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, this is wonderful. Oh, now I see Martin. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a photo.
Yeah, please take a group photo, please. Hi, Joshua. Yeah, Hannah and I heard from she says it's so wonderful to see a lot of non-catalogers. So this is great. Again, the cross boundary between public service and technical service, and we all care about the discovery of an e-resource and digitized collection, beautiful photo collection. Yes.
Yeah, and also the collection side, also collection services. Basically, the whole, the whole life cycle, of the e-resources.
I also see some retiree in this workshop. I'm really excited about Abraham. I saw
Yes, I saw Abraham's name. Where are you, Abraham? I want to see him. Anyway, so I just want this COVID-19 pandemic over soon so we can see each other again at CEAL conference. Hannah, do you want to do that? So you don't have to hold a virtual conference.
Will they be able
No
to
more virtual conference.
So next year we can shake hands again.
Next year,
virtual
definitely.
conference is also a good option, in supplement to the on-site. We need, in-person networking, and we also need this online tool that to provide more training, more programs. And thanks to Julie to come to CEAL again and to bring the exciting news about the KBAR 3 improvement on global data elements. That is really exciting news.
Exactly. So that's something for you and Hannah. This is kind of ERMB's impact on the community, contribute to the international standard. And I remember Martin emphasized we really need to make this, right? Martin, see, happen, dream come true. It's really wonderful.
I just already sent an email to somebody and said, oh, finally.
Yes.
And very good, and transliterated, and translated, which I always was hoping for. So yes, that was exciting.
Yeah, I didn't realize why, Susan wanted to show that website. And after she showed it, I realized that download numbers.
And we have an international member, Michelle Zhou from Australia, I believe. Yeah, and she said online conference enable her to join our program.
So again, it's just like we are using hybrid model now, is 2 day on site, 3 day, working from home. This could be the continuing model for us. But one more option. But I really want to see all of you in person next year, okay? And then we can shake hands and say hi to Hannah. Hi, Fabiano. I want to go to Toronto again.
Yes, please come.
Hopefully
Maybe we should plan a
we'll
summer
see
conference.
next
Yes. Kiss in Niagara Falls.
As weather in Toronto in summer, we should go there.
I think there's another session held by ECEAL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay, so we have ended. We have to end our party. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Bye.
yeah.
Thank you.
Susan, can you send the link?
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Oh, I forgot.